do is basically create technologies to help museums go online. But I'll, of course, go in detail right now. I just wanted to share with you that I've been lucky to land in Bucharest on Saturday, which was my very first time. And I went across the city. And to be perfectly transparent, I just fell in love. I didn't know nothing about Bucharest in Romania, except what I found in books when I was a teenage. And I don't know, there is something special about this city and this country. And I think what we've been doing today, with the 4 new partners we are announcing, is a step towards bringing Romania to the world. This is the app, actually. This is on your phone, so if you want to just stop listening to me and download the app, please do. Now is the time. Because everything I'll be talking about is actually just in this app, which is Google Arts and Culture. So I mentioned about the engineering group I'm working with. This group is partnering with museums across the world. And the way we do it is actually through a non-for-profit organization inside Google. This group actually partners with museums on different types of projects. So you will find art. The minister was just talking about people visiting art museum. Well, this is what you can find online. But much more. You could also go for performing arts, you could go for architectural renders and so on. The way we've been doing that for the past 8 years is through partnership with 2,000 museums across the world. That's roughly 70 countries, including Romania, but we'll get back to this soon. This is an overview of what we've been doing for the past few years. So as you can see, partnership with MoMA and the Met in New York, Versailles in France, and other institutions like Palace Museum in Beijing. And what we've been doing with them is actually make sure that their experts, their curators, their commissioners bring the best stories for everyone to see online. That's really the aim of this project. I'll just keep on numbers because numbers just makes us tired. Let's move on. So the question is more interesting if we ask ourselves, but how can Google and museums or cultural organizations can partner together? How they do that? Well, through different ways. This is the art camera. We've been using it in Romania for the past few months, and I'll show you a few examples. But this technology is basically like a big camera. It looks roughly like this in terms of size, but it's a camera. And it shoots thousands of pictures of one artwork, and then gather all the images, thousands of them, into one big file. And this will allow your eyes to see things that you could not normally see. But we'll get back to this. This is another technology that we call Museum View. This is this small trolley that you might have used, like me, to come here at the point. You use Street View, I assume, or Google Maps. We actually adapted this technology for indoor museum, so you can actually virtually visit the places. And last of the digitization tool that we work with is a tabletop scanner, because museums do not only have paintings on their wall, but they do also have documents, archives. So we also created a tabletop scanner that allows us to digitize very quickly and efficiently while preserving fragility of documents. But having digital images, digital assets is one thing, but it's really not enough, because then comes the second point, which is bringing curators' expertise about those stories. So we created a tool that we call Virtual Exhibition, and that we'll see it in a few minutes. This tool actually helps curators to bring together all the content, all the images, all the 360 tools and so on, into one story. But that's not enough, because then comes the question, well, how do people access it? Well, through different ways. Of course, first is the app, but I guess you already downloaded it. Second is search. Well, that's the good thing about Google Arts and Culture, is that it's connected to Google, and it makes people find art much more easily. Let's say that you're a Van Gogh fan, and you'd like to know more about Starry Night, so you'll type Van Gogh Starry Night on Google. Well, in the past, before we partnered with MoMA, you would just get like a list of links and a beautiful set of links about Van Gogh Starry Night. But now, through the partnership, you can go on the image, high resolution, get the behind-the-scenes stories, how it has been commissioned for the past few exhibits at MoMA and so on. And last, we also work with YouTube creators because we certainly talk to art lovers, but we also want to talk to people who are not necessarily art fans. They don't know much about art. Those people can be youngsters, like millennials, as we say. And we want to make sure that we can address this audience also with the creators they love. So there's a lot to say about Romania and arts and culture because we've been working with Romania for now about 7 years. And if you go on Google Arts and Culture, you'll be able to find 13 cultural organization that has been partnering with us. Here's a timeline about how we worked, and with a flying dot, I'm not sure why, but basically the first partner we worked with in Romania was TVR, because they created like exhibitions about the Romanian Revolution. So you have many archives, videos, and testimonies, which is really fascinating. And I'll move very fast, but in 2014 we also worked with some local provincial museum, and in 2016 with, of course, the iconic Palace of Parliament, and more recently with the National Archives. So what you can see very briefly here is that for the past few years we've been working also with non-Bucharest institutions, but also across the country. And that represents a kind of wide diversity of institutions, from architectural landscapes, history museum, and more contemporary ones. But let's have a quick look at this one, which is to me, I think, one of my favorite ones, I'm going to be honest with you. They brought together a collection of digital assets that you can really zoom and get details about. If I have time, I'll show you later. And of course, I invite you to go have a look at the Palace of the Parliaments, because it's digitized in Street View. And I've been there on Saturday. Well, it was closed to the public for good reasons. But I came to the Contemporary Art Museum, which is inside the palace, and I start to be struck by how amazing the architecture is. And I heard a lot about the Palace of Parliament since I was a kid, but I had never been there before. And the image I had was this amazing building, but I had no idea about what's inside. So now with Street View you can walk around not all rooms, because there are so many, but like a lot of halls and hemicycles places. But then why we're here today? That's the question I want to answer. Well, you already know. We're announcing today 4 new partnerships in Romania. 4 cultural organizations that join us. So this is the Cotroceni National Museums, and I'd like to apologize if I mispronounce any of those. We also partner with the Moldova in Iaşi. The minister also told us about Peleş National Museum, who is joining us today. And also Semne Cusute, who is joining us too. All those institutions who joined Google Arts and Culture today brought together more than 600 high-resolution images. That's a lot to explore. And also 13 expertly curated stories. So I invite you to go check, because you will find things that maybe you didn't have any idea about, although it's part of your own culture. For a second. So this is what the museum has been creating with us. And you can really explore their collection. So this is the 2 virtual exhibitions they created. And this is the collection of artworks that you can now browse. I will stop for a second on this one. You might recognize this woman, who's Maria of Romania, the Queen. And this painting, we digitized it with the robot that I mentioned to you earlier on, which is the art camera. So think about this type of device that looks like this camera, basically, that you bring inside the museum, in front of the artwork, like 2 or 3 meters away, and then it shoots thousands, each little square, basically, of this frame and piece of art is being shot. And then all the pixels are being gathered into what we call a pyramid of files, so you can zoom in very smoothly in the texture. And I wanted just to take your attention for a second and look at this mouth of the queen, which is really something special, I think, in terms of techniques. So let's have a look. What I find very fascinating is when you look at the mouth from here, it looks like, all right, it's a mouth. But if you really pay attention to details and get closer, you will better understand about how the painter actually structured the mouth, using like very subtle nuances of white, of red, and how all those shapes come together. And this is absolutely something you wouldn't be able to see with your naked eye. So based on that, you can generate new stories, new narratives for young kids, for anyone who is interested or not yet interested in art. And I wanted to show you that because I think technology can enhance the way you see art. Technology can maybe help you see things that you would not normally see. So this is just an example. What I found interesting in this palace is that when the king commissioned it, he had many ideas about how can you create one of the best castles in the world. And they created this exhibition that tells about the story of how it has been created. And I think the word pearl is quite deserved. And so you can basically cover the architecture, how it has been created in the Carpathian Mountains. And I was kind of interested to discover that the king himself asked the best workers from all across Europe, from France, from Italy, from Turkey, from all over Europe actually, to come together and bring their expertise to get the best for this castle. So it's a kind of Europe before Europe, right? And I really invite you to go check the exhibition that tells you much more about it. If we can switch back to the presentation. I wanted also to tell something about this partner that is really special, Semne Cusute. They created a project that basically is a tribute to Romanian blues. If we can switch, thank you. What they did basically is a beautiful project that helps you actually discover what are the techniques behind it. I won't be able to show everything because it's a lot of beautiful images, but I'd like to show you one. So Aidoma is one of the projects they run, and what they wanted to do is document all the history of Romanian blues, so people can now really understand what's behind the blues. And you might be very surprised to discover things like that cypress tree, for instance, are often embroidered on shoulders because it gives strength to women. Also, you often see the red fibers on the neck because it's supposed to be protecting one of the weakest parts of the human body. So all those stories can be found now on this partner page. And last but not least, that's okay. The Moldova National Museum in Iaşi, which used to be the Justice Palace of this town, and that has been turned in the 50s as a place that hosts now 4 museums. So it's called the Palace of Culture, as you know. There's a lot I need to say about it, but I'll go brief. I might be over time already, sorry. So this is a virtual exhibition they created about the symbol of union that this palace represents. And I'm sure there are Games of Thrones fans in this room. And I just found this really amazing ceramic that is on the floor in the Hall of Honors. And I invite you to go check all the hidden animals here, because you might be recognizing some. I really invite you to go check these exhibits. You can go back to the presentation quickly. Thank you. So here's what the 4 new partners has been creating together with us. I hope that this will make Romanian people proud about their culture, make them also discover more about their own roots. And I hope certainly that this will allow European people to also fall in love like I just did with Romania.